Greetings in the name of the Most High. Ah, well, on our way to this big change, I think you'd all agree with me. We're not going back the way we were. We're not going back to the little comfort zones of the past. We're not going back to the 90s. We're not going back to the 80s. I'm here in the name of Jesus to basically make predictions as to what you will see. And as I said, I keep seeing this overarching peace deal. I don't know that this is the one that gets broken that brings the ultimate war to the world, but the tensions of the world are such that it's either, and I'm not into a binary idea here, but it is either civil war, okay, at this point. We are, some say we're already at a civil war. I mean, a hot civil war, taking up arms, the whole bit, and basically having that engulf the world because the divisions are permanent. Told you there were two different species here, and those species never change. I remember I heard it said somewhere that you know how you turn a communist into a capitalist, give them some money. But that same person, you could say this, you know how you turn him from a communist from a capitalist, have him lose that money. Okay. So it's the individual versus the collective, as it always is. It is definitely an us versus them thing. To be an individual, that means you're separated from the group. The only way that can happen is if God separates you. And then if you're still pursuing something in the world like your whole life, then you're ignoring God's calling on your life. So prediction number one, you have a calling on your life by God. And yet you're ignoring it because the world is taking up all your time because you've got to make the money to make the bills, to make the thing work. So you really can't think. You have to think in terms of getting ahead and winning the game, whatever. But there is no game to win. It's an illusion. It's just fear. It's just they're putting fear on you to keep you online. But if you're separate from the world, meaning, if you're an individual, for example, versus a collective person, well, then you've already been separated. Now, how did you get separated? How did you see that? Well, you didn't. Separation is a 100% work of the Lord. Separation is a holy blessing. It means that you've been chosen out of the world, separate from the world, in order to, to do the work of God upon the earth, and to have that as your guidepost and as your path. You've been given your purpose. You've been given your life. You've been given your universe. You've been given your eternity. You have been given everything. You have inherited everything there is to inherit. It's all yours. But so long as you keep looking over here, it's like people looking at the, I can't stand my hair being backlit like that. How about this? If you, no, I got it cut. I'm growing it on a little bit on top and then cutting the sides. And, as I develop my, I've been working through detoxing, eating the right foods, and just cleaning up the from self-indulgence for a lot of years, and it's going really well. In fact, I'm in that state of that kind of high free floating state where you start getting into the spirit, kind of like fasting is where I'm kind of heading, and I'm all for fasting, and we'll be doing more of that, fasting and praying. I've been separate from the world now. So the thing the thing I'm bringing you today is from that separation. And I'm not saying that any prediction I make will be 100% accurate. They keep seeing war, but I got to tell you again, I just don't see war in the sense of, I kind of shrug it off a little bit, and I just keep seeing this turning, this understanding of this end times, fourth turning, the Kali Yuga, the various end of the world prophecies. We are truly at the end of this world and the beginning of another one. And this next one has nothing to do with this one. And even it's as if we step into another movie set, and that movie set's completely different. It's a different story. A lot of people want to go back. They want to go back. They want to bomb Israel or bomb Iran or bomb somebody or go to war or do something that have a riot or do all these are kind of outdated, outmoded things. Riots are outmoded. Wars and civil wars and global wars and nuclear wars, they're all outdated, outmoded. Okay, they're out. Well, folks, screw that. They're outdated, outmoded, they're out of time. They're extemporaneous. They're not pertinent to where we are headed. When Trump said, and we're going to get into the curse of Trump in just a second, because I'm going to give it a whole download on Trump. This whole dynamic of Trump. When I say Trump, I mean the people for and the people against, and the clash. It's really a clash. It's what it is it's the changing of the seasons. It's the changing of the time. It's the changing of one mode of life in one dimension to a different dimension. And that dimension is we're going into it whether we like it or not. So there is no going back to some kind of cozy understanding about the world. The world never was cozy. The world always was predatory. The world was always hunting your soul. The world was always feeding off you and your labor. The world was always feeding off you and your ideas. The world was always treating you unfairly. And finally, your biology would meet the world and say, look, as you've become wise, now your biology is beginning to fail you. Just when you need it most, when you start becoming wise, now your biology is failing you and you're going to die. First, you're going to get sick and be a burden to your family. Then you're going to die. Okay? And that seems, a deal breaker with God. For most people who have health insurance, which is one of the big scams of this world, if you have health insurance, you're more likely to not believe in God. You're more likely to fall away from the Lord. What I have to say today is harsh. So if you can't handle it, tune out now. We're about to get into the curse of Trump. And that's what I think we'll call this podcast, The Curse of Donald J. Trump. And Trump is simply a harbinger of, a different world. When he would say golden age, and he would say, rearrange the deck with these, tariffs to eventually get to a free trade understanding of the world. When he would say annex Canada and Greenland and all these things, this is all not next level. It's next world. It's next world. And it's rudimentary in the sense that these things would also fall away. These things would also be strictures and structures that would be there temporarily, but then fall away. Now, where we are headed is not lawlessness, but a time of, the law of going from the external to, being laws, about people and places and things and jaywalking and murder and, theft and whatnot, to becoming internal. Whereas people's sense of conscience will become internalized, and yet kind of like a, judge, jury, and executioner will live within you. And that will be the regulator, not the state. That's just one change that's coming. A human being becoming self-regulatory. In other words, advancing to the next step of consciousness. That is, an awareness. There is a code to being, a sentient being. Then the awareness that the physical state is not the final state. That if you are a sentient being in a physical state, and that physical state dies, you don't die. You just move on to another dimension. It's another understanding. It's like going from, say this world to more of a maybe a world that you'd see in your dreams. But still a world nonetheless, and still you're a person nonetheless. You're still the person that God knew before you were in your mother's womb. So, that's where all people have to eventually, um, come to, is the source of all life, and that is God, and that's where you have to make your peace. That's where you have to make your peace, because there is no other peace on earth that's available to you. There is no peace in the universe that is available to anyone. It's all going to be, coming to God. Now, some people may call it something else. I like I say, my way is Jesus. Jesus is, because Jesus was a divine revelation, and I have a connection there that's also physical and visceral, not just poetic or spiritual, whatever that means. It's a hard connection, which could not be unless it was proven to me. And again and again, and even lately, some prayer, the rapidity of being answered. Now, some of the things that happened have been horrific and life threatening, especially lately, and infections and different things, that have occurred. And the Lord has seen me through all of it, and I cannot say that there is any other name under heaven, under reality, that has actually brought me through. That's my experience, and that's where I get information. That's why I'm getting inspired to talk about the Trump curse, because there's some things you may not be aware of in terms of the dynamic of judgment that comes upon the people. Because I think we'd all agree that people are under judgment now. Or would you say this is a blessing? Well, it's a blessing in the sense that you're alive. You have another chance. You have another day here. Here's another day. Another chance. You deserve that day? No, I don't either. We don't, but here it is. He's giving it to us. He's the giver and the taker away of days. So getting into the Trump, and this is not really theory. This is like a download I've just experienced. As Trump achieves, for example, something that would be hailed, let's say, if Joe Biden had done it, or some terrestrial, an earth dweller had done it, they would be saying about this military strike, and then the aftermath of this sort of messy peace process. You would have, which is messy because it's ignoring the fourth turning. Messy because it's still there's a group of people, mainly socialist, communist, what I call earth dwellers. You know what I mean? They don't know anything about the spirit. They don't know anything about God. They rejected God. All they know is like arguing, yelling, burning things down, and hurting people to get their way. That's all they know. It's basically a form of totalitarianism within a collective, right? A collective understanding. And watching people put up with this, and it's all part of the Trump curse, because the more Trump succeeds, now say about him what you will, he's this and that. He must have been a Scottish Freemason, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, must have been, He must have been with Epstein. He was hanging out. He was a billionaire. He was decadent. He had pretty girls around all the time, blah, 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 blah. All the complaints you can think about. And then think about this. The actual thing we just witnessed, okay, the military strike, on the, not just the enriching facility, but the actual manufacturing facility of weaponizing, missiles and so forth for Iran's use. And I also believe that Iran has had nukes, just like anybody with $150 million. You can get a suitcase nuke for that, on the black market, but they're available. I mean, so if you're a government like Iran and you're banned from having them, wouldn't you have a few of those? Hand them out to your terrorists, extenders, out there that says you can blow up some cities and, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. But the problem is we're not going back. So they're out of time and out of luck. Trump made a quip that if he cured cancer, they would impeach him or something. You know what I mean? They throw him out of office for putting oncologists out of a job. Okay, so if he to the extent that he succeeds, for example, the military strike, probably the most significant or the best military strike in the history of all presidents in the history of the United States, and no one's talking about that. It will go down in history as probably the most brilliant move and one of the most significant strikes, because it did do what it said it did. And the intelligence community is lying when they say that there's material unaccounted for and they're making nukes and it makes no difference. The more that Trump will succeed, like in something like that, which puts him ahead of all the other presidents. I'm sorry, he just is. There's just nothing you can do to even refute that, unless you lie. You say he didn't really do that. Well, that's fine. He didn't do anything. He just sits there contemplating his navel, doing nothing, and is attacked all day long. Believe me, if he did nothing, he'd be lauded. So here we are. And on the eve of a very successful, it would be a success if anyone else did it. It would be considered in the annals of military history. We've never seen anything as great as that and precise as that operation that went down with Iran. Whether you're for the nukes or against the nukes or for Iran or against, doesn't really even matter. People are people. People are stupid, okay? How stupid is Israel and Iran to be firing missiles at each other when they're trying to, Trump thinks he's got a peace. Next thing you know, they start lobbing missiles on each other because, and then Trump says they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's a prophetic word. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's exactly right. They go, well, Netanyahu wants this. Well, yeah, he wants this. He wants that. He wants control. But he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Period. He's not led by God at all. And so he just said, you back Israel. Yeah, Israel, very mysterious Israel. Very difficult to identify Israel. Very difficult to see Israel. But before we get to that, and the fact that Trump brought the Abraham Accords, and he moved the capital of Israel from, I believe, Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is, very significant spiritually and historically, and when no one else could do it. And for that, he was blamed and damned and pissed on. Brilliant military strike, whether you like it or not, whether you believe the outcome or not, don't care what you believe. I don't care, all you people, all you fucking crazy people switching your point of view every 5 minutes. I don't care to hear you anymore. I've heard all these stations and, oh, it's a peace deal. No, it's not a peace deal. Oh, they're firing again. Oh, they're not firing. Oh, Netanyahu's the Antichrist. Blah, 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 blah. You're just a bunch of fucking damn idiots. When it gets to be like that, just sit down and shut up and watch. And there'll be a moment where you can make a discernment about what's going on. But obviously, in the throes of battle, you're trying to call a game while it's in the, I mean, to make a football analogy, it's in the first quarter and it's in the first half of the first quarter, and the other team has just scored a touchdown, and then the opposing team is scrambling to try to get 6 on the board and make a touchdown as well. And in the midst of that flurry, you call the game. You say, "Oh, they're really of the Antichrist," whatever. You call it as you see it. So, that's ridiculous. Anyway, so the curse of Trump is this. Maybe I should start over, Trish. I shouldn't call anyone an idiot. You're not idiots. I'm in the same boat with you. We're all grappling with all this, but I get so mad at times because I know that over half of the country is gone, right? So I know they look human, but they're not. They're dead. You can use them for target practice. I know that all sounds cruel, and I'm sorry to be that cold, but I really it is what it is, and so there could be a civil war, which would be actually humane at this point. That would actually be the best thing that could happen. Would be a full hot civil war, just like the movie Civil War. The outcome would not be binary. It would be a mystery as to what happened in the end, who would win. No one would win because we're going into the fourth turning, so nobody would actually win. But in the curse of Trump, it goes like this, and then I'll get out of here. The more Trump does, he's done a lot since election, the more belittled he will be by the world. And to the point where they will start blaming or attributing and false attribution other people that have nothing to do with it here, there, around, with the credit for doing what Trump just accomplished. The more that he does that's competent, the more he makes sense, the more he will be belittled as a totalitarian, as I heard that, New York has fallen. I'm about to get to what's going to happen. The reason for the Trump curse is to destroy the world, because the end game of the Trump curse is the destruction of all civilization. And of course, the rebuilding of a new one. That's the real great reset. So in the sense that Trump is not acknowledged for anything he does, or if he prays and then he gets a word from God to go in and take out the nuke or whatever, and he obeys and it's done precisely and perfectly and everything else, he will be belittled, and that belittlement will then be judged. Then that is the offense toward God. Even if Trump doesn't, is just a man and can't possibly be, not like some holy priest or something. He's just a man. But it's the dynamic that brings the judgment of God onto the earth, meaning the end of civilization. And it's not really a judgment so much, it's a movement. In other words, it's time for the civilization to go. We just saw New York fall, and barely a whimper. You could hear a pin drop. It fell overnight, and I predict before long, once the real mayor is finally figured out, I believe that there'll be competing cities, but New York will be maybe first in the nation to have soup lines and real poverty, real, especially when all the companies leave that are now planning on leaving because they're trying to put the corporate tax from 6% to 11%, which will drive all the employers out, and then they have to feed the people. So it's going to have to be Bernie Sanders' wet dream of food lines, or that's every communist wet dream, food lines. Then they feel they're really, doing something. They're helping the poor people, that were hurt by the billionaires. So the world becomes the Tower of Babel. Anything said now is irrelevant because of the Trump curse. Anything in the news said by CNN or Fox, both supposedly opposites, anything they say is irrelevant because of the Trump curse. The Trump curse could not exist unless the collective of people, all the powerful people, getting together, as I've seen the last 24 to 48 hours, and saying that, Trump has actually made it worse in the Middle East, and now they're on the verge of a bomb, and Iran has all this leverage now over, or Netanyahu does, or somebody does, because of Trump's blunder. They've turned it from a precision plus that goes down in the annals of military and United States history into some tawdry, chaotic, out of the blue, pull it out of your ass affair. Now, that will yield the end of not just the military, but the United States. And every time you see one of them doing that, like that Kelly guy from Arizona or anybody else, when you see them doing that, just remember, they're dismantling the halls of Congress. They're blowing up the White House. They're destroying the Pentagon. They're destroying all the courts of the land. They're destroying everything that was built, including all education, completely destroyed. Because the Trump curse is all about reality. It's all about a reality shift. It's all about bringing in this fourth turning and this new civilization, this new understanding, which there's no room for the old understanding. So there must be a purge of, there's got to be a purge of people. Billions have to die. Only a few will live. And that's because they refuse to accept reality. So therefore they have to go. Because there is no, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you can't go with the flow of the next world, then the world will not accept you. You won't be a physical being there. I mean, I don't know, you'll die, but how will you die? I don't know. But that's the message I was getting today, that the curse of Trump is brought to end the world. And that's why it's there. And every time that Trump does something that's positive, it will be met with extreme negativity across the board, which will then exacerbate the new civil war, which it'll be a bloodbath. It won't be a civil war with an outcome. There'll be no winner. No, it'll be for the purpose of bloodbath only. Bloodbath is the main reason. And all of this will happen until and unless people, I guess they have to undo the curse of Trump. They would have to forgive Trump. But do you see them doing that? I don't see them doing that. I see them doubling down on, if Trump does some one more brilliant thing, they'll start blaming, like, again, people that have nothing to do with it and attributing them as the real social, engineers and shapers. But make no mistake, the use of the military and the way Trump used it, and the kind of thing that he's trying to do, and how he's being led to do it, also has another purpose, and that's the Trump curse. The Trump curse, Trump's unaware of the curse, but certainly some people have felt it. The idea that they keep reporting that he's a Nazi and as a fascist, he's trying to take over Iran or whatever, whatever they make up. And every time they do that, it's almost like, as terrorists, they're blowing up another building. And at this point, they've they've destroyed Western civilization. So now we're just waiting for it to fall, like physically fall. And, the people looking for the golden age, there will be a golden age for those who understand, and I'm not sure what that exactly means in terms of Bible prophecy. I suppose it, in a way, the golden age and the return of Jesus for the 1,000-year rule would coincide, because at the end of that is the fall of the planets and the stars, and everything goes away, except for the New Jerusalem, which is very, very satisfying to me. I understand that perfectly. I understand that story perfectly. Exactly. The old is wiped out. And who can say who wins? Nobody wins. The Civil War that they tried to gin up, A24 production company hired Alex Garland. I guess he did, what movie did he do? Something about a robot. Anyway, he did the movie where the progressives went and they killed Trump, the Trumpian figure. The movie itself underscores the Trump curse. The movie itself helps to bring about the end of the left and the end of all progressives, but it also brings about the end of all conservatives. Now, you can't be conservative or liberal or anything like that. You just have to be of God, because the next dimension that we're going into has really got very little to do with this physical, gross dimension. And really, the spiritual IQ of people will be necessary for survival. Otherwise, you won't know who you're listening to, you know what I mean? Because everything will be going on at once. And it's a hell of a thing, but I saw an Israeli man and his daughter huddling, and a guy with a gun was shooting up the apartment building and just about to enter in to shoot them. And she gave up screaming and yelling, and she just cuddled up with her father, knowing she was going to be killed. And that's a hell of a thing to watch. That's a hell of a thing to put on Facebook. But I suppose, because they buy into the physical, because they feel the physical trumps God, because they feel that the physical mechanical world is the world, and because of that delusion and that lie that they live by, they feel that loss of life of the human body is the most important thing in the world. And that, of course, not the most important thing in the world. Human bodies come and go. We had a whole bunch that got wiped out with the COVID shot. Millions. They come and go. Part of the next world and the adaptation to it is the diminishing of the importance of life, of biological life, of your body. And let me just give you some scriptural backup for you people that are brethren that are on my path, which is the more and more the narrow way. I know I goofed off the last few years, and was making my point through movies and different things. But I mean, I drank a lot and I ate a lot of different things, kind of indiscriminate. I guess my sin was just eating and drinking indiscriminately, but the body is a temple and has to be treated as such, or you just won't be here. And so after being hospitalized twice or three times, whatever it was, 3 times, I realized that, I'm about one click from being out of here, but I better straighten up. And it took me a while after getting out of the hospital. But I realized that I am fit to go through the cosmic change from this dimension to the next. I am fit for that. I'm fit spiritually. I'm fit mentally. I am. I think I worked out a lot of my resentment issues toward my, my own family and betraying friends and just evil people that were around and whatever. And I realized I'm just really grateful to be alive and having come through that, because that gave me a lot of clarity and wisdom about the world that most people didn't have by the time they were 21 years old, 25, that most people don't know. And there's still people that think you should join that. Better late than never, they'll say, to us old folks. And I'm like, you mean you carry your burden all the way through this life and then at the last minute lose your soul? What are you talking about? But they really do believe that. They believe that life in the flesh is supreme. Therefore, you're being given an opportunity to lose that thing that's just a parasite. It's almost like the soul is akin to a fetus when you're pregnant, and that getting rid of it's the best thing you could do. Right? Am I right? Am I right or am I right? So spiritual preparation, the way that you got to look at Trump to be in alignment, to complete alignment with the Lord. And, I mean, you can disagree with this and get mad and throw things. It's okay. It's I still value free speech, including your free speech, to disagree with anything you hear here. But the way to look at Trump isn't like orange man bad, he just, they're reporting that he blew up this. It's a great military move and all that. Don't you be fooled. It's all bullshit. Trump's just a puppet. He's a con man. He's a nowhere guy. You're missing the significance. You're missing the prophetic significance of the whole thing, which is that he is well, how can I put it? He's put there doing a certain kind of job that nobody else in the world could do, only him, and eliciting a response that no one else could get, only him. And that response is proving the Lord's word to be true, proving God to be true and every man a liar, proving God to be true, that the Lord is not mocked. What we sow, so shall we reap. And the reaping is pretty darn good right now, meaning bloodbaths, wars, and all that should happen, but aren't happening. Because why? Because of the end of the age. The beginning, so the fourth turning would be the return of Christ. How that manifests, that's a good question. But the return of Christ. Obviously, the law comes into us because to rule for 1,000 years with a rod of iron would mean that all the people have been programmed to internally accept that rule and participate in that rule. Correct? Or they wouldn't be here. They'd be off in the bottomless pit with Beelzebub, with Lucifer, whatever. So that is a very exciting development. And no, nobody knows really what a life is, like what a body is, because a body is a constellation of different frequencies of light, as well as different frequencies of sound. So if you take the full spectrum of what a human being is, oh, now come on. If you take the full spectrum of what a human being is, you're going to get a full spectrum of frequencies and light and colors for each person. And that, if one frequency goes out and another one pops in, there's no end to the frequencies. It's just like, matter is never killed. It's just simply like energy. It's transformed. And, and it will be, it's anybody's guess what forms, but the creator is the creator. That would be a good place to start. So it's a God-centric future. And people that are trying to hold on to their collectives and their political bodies and their football teams and their routines are going to find it very, very difficult going forward, even if they have a paycheck. It's going to be very difficult because there's a feeling of just not being in sync, of not being with it, of waiting around to die, of waiting to go to the doctor to have your heart checked in case you're going to have a heart attack, of hoping that your kids will graduate high school, of hoping that we don't get into a third world war, of hoping that you don't lose your money in your retirement, of hoping and praying and hoping for all millions and millions and trillions of little things to not interrupt or get upset, but to keep all in sync. Ow! Ooh! Okay, so I better stop because he might object. Anyway, the Trumpian, from the standpoint of the spirit, the Trump curse is also a harbinger of what's to come, and it is only in effect if more and more people denounce any good work that Trump does. The then coming judgments, coming failures, coming civilizational collapses, all those things are in play so long as people do negate that Trump did anything. I don't know why Trump is the guy that it's being based on, but think about it. We've never seen anything like this before, have we? Have you ever seen anything like this before? Where no matter what the guy does, it's just like he's a complete piece of shit, and that he didn't do what he said he did, and it's all a big con game and lying. He's a fascist, and we have to build a new world order of basically what the left wants are food lines and soup lines and poverty in every city in America. That's what they want. So everybody is equal in their suffering. And they want to go back to stealing all the tax money. You know, you wonder where all the entitlement money, they always scream about entitlements. Yes, because they use those as slush funds. They steal the money. Doge proved that. They steal the money. Knowing that, we can't go back to the way it was because we don't trust that they won't steal the money. So we can't go back to giving them access to the Social Security funds or the NGOs being funded, for no reason, and then having people become billionaires off the state, off hard-won money but from individuals who are working hard for that money, and then only to have it stolen. But they keep electing the Democrats over and over, thinking the Democrats are looking out for them. No, they're stealing everything you have. They're stealing you blind. And they, again, just Corson stealing the new mayor. What is his name? Madani. It looks like Mamdani.
Yeah, but he's
Madman. This is just a preliminary.
We don't even have a Republican there yet.
Okay, so if he wins, so if Madman, his name is Madman, literally. If he wins, New York will return to the soup lines of the 1930s, only it'll be fake in the sense that it won't really be like the 1930s. It will be some kind of a cartoon aspect of it. I don't expect me to explain that. I don't know. I can't. A cartoon aspect of the 1930s. And for the curse to stop, people would have to treat Trump as just a normal human being with, call him, accurately, strikes and balls. You know what I mean? Brilliant, yes, okay, failure, but based on a fair assessment. And if they don't do that, then the curse will go on engulfing everybody to where there's divisions that will never be healed again. For example, right now, just let me prove my point. Okay, say it was Thanksgiving tomorrow. How many of you would be welcome in that have opposite like parents, or maybe it's grandparent, maybe it's uncle, aunt and uncle, extended family, but how many that are different from you that are, say, Democrats, and say you're a Republican, or vice versa, they're Republicans and you're a Democrat? How many would be welcome at Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner? It's actually worse now than it was, right? It has not become okay to be, in fact, it's become more intolerant. I saw, for example, some people attack some Jews in New York. Now, Jews in New York is a very common sight, especially these were either Hasidic or Orthodox Jews. And they were chased down the street by people who basically wanted to murder them. And so New York, if they go ahead and follow through, first of all, they'd be the dumbest idiots that ever breathed air, on earth. New York would then deserve its fate, which is basically lawlessness and food lines. And, certain people would like to see food lines across the United States and use the tax code to be confiscatory. In other words, as a wealth preventer, so that there's no competition with them stealing your money, becoming billionaires in their NGOs, and living the nice life at Martha's Vineyard off your dime, literally off your dime, off your money, literally. And yet the Democrats keep marching together, no King's March. How is that possible if they've already been busted stealing all this money? It's because these people don't learn. They need to be further cursed. They need to lose everything. They must lose it. They want to lose everything. They want to be in a food line. They want to be having no heat in their homes. They want to be living in a street where they have to defend themselves with inadequate, where they have no firepower because they're not allowed to have a gun. They want to be treaded upon, and the only fascists in town are the left. They are the fascists. They're the Nazis. They're the Azimov battalion in Ukraine. That's who's been funded. And they're literally neo-Nazis. But I guess it doesn't matter, right? The truth doesn't matter. Trump launched the bunker busters, and 8 of them went into the main thing. And then they had 3 targets, and the bomb assessment damage is that they hit the 3 targets and neutralized them. And then no sooner did they announce that and that was from various agencies, not just Trump's people, that CNN came out with they made up a story that said nothing changed, that they're still in the same position to develop more nuclear bombs, and now Russia's going to help. So Trump actually made everything worse. So they, based on a leak, there was no leak. They made it up. They lied. They lie every day. How do I know that? Because they lie every day. And they lie about Trump. So long as the media lies about Trump, the United States will have a very, very difficult time moving forward. In other words, the whole point of, say, a Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, is to block interest rate cuts, which would help the economy. And already the gas prices and egg prices, all those prices have come down, but that would ensure too much success for Trump. Therefore, I will destroy the economy just to get the one guy. I will destroy the United States just to get Trump. I will pledge my honor and my treasure and my life to destroying Trump. No matter what, it's all about Trump. Everything is Trump. And my entire being is dedicated to the destruction of Trump and stopping him from implementing any of his deals that would prosper the United States, prosper the world, bring security, bring safety, bring harmony, and bring peace. We must make sure that never happens. So that's who you vote for. You know, we got people I work with, and I see them putting up anti-Trump stuff, and you know they're Democrats, and I'm like, but you and your business would do much worse if you got your way, but you don't care. It's just getting him that counts. You'll sacrifice your business. You'll sacrifice your wife. You'll sacrifice your children just to get Orange Man. You'll sacrifice everything that you can think of, including your neighbor, if you can just get him. Okay, that's what a curse is. That's the definition of a curse. That is the implacability of a generational curse. Curses are intelligent, first of all, and they're complex. This one is intelligent beyond human, because this is a God thing. It just says, if you continue to do this, you will destroy yourself. You will sacrifice everything to get Trump, including your own lives. And in the end, you will have gotten neither one. You will not have peace, you will not have safety, you will not have Trump, and you will not have a republic. And that's the curse of Trump. Now, why would God allow that to go forward? Well, that's a good question. Let's get on our knees and find out. I mean, is it, oh, no, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know why that is. It was coming to this anyway with the Democrats versus the versus the libertarians, the Republicans, the conservatives. The people that wanted to live by the Constitution, the rule of law, are really, they consider them to be the fascists. And so it really just comes down to, what people are willing to do. And these people are willing to die to get, and even kill all their countrymen to get one man. And that is what is called a curse. CURSE. The curse on the United States is Trump. Can people really have that low of a spiritual IQ? You mean to tell me that people haven't figured this out yet? And it's a big Israeli plot. It's the Jews. It's the fucking Arabs. It's Mohammed. It's, pedophilia. It's human trafficking. It's fentanyl. It's, they're all in bed with each other. They're all fucking pedophiles in bed with each other, ruling the world. And all these excuses, when the main one is sitting there glaring us in the face, isn't it? Now watch now how, as Trump succeeds, they even try to separate it from the man himself. The ultimate would be to separate Trump from any kind of military victory. Yes, there was a military victory, but that wasn't Trump. That was, Raising Cane or something. That was Biden's policies. So, and that's, 100% logic and 100% where we're at, 100% truth. And I'm sure that they can't handle that. But Because if they could handle it, what I would tell the Democrats right now, if I were to be the consultant, I would say the first thing you got to do is quit, blaming Trump for everything. Quit focusing on Trump and focus on your jobs. Focus on policy. Focus on how you're going to make life better for people, and get rid of the thieves and all the people that have stolen from the NGOs. Get them out. Start over again, is what I would tell them. If I were consulting the Republican Party, I would say, stop being such fucking cowards and get yourself aligned with your commander in chief. You know what I mean? And a lot of you are like second guessing. Oh, Trump's really doing this. I told Trump not to do this. He did it anyway, but I was right. No, you're wrong. Get in line. Yeah, but I'm allowed to criticize. Yeah, criticize all you want, but do it from being in line. In other words, he's there, you're not. He's pulling the levers, you're not. So be in line so you can at least pray for him to pull the right levers at the right time, which is what's been happening. And stop this. There's nowhere you can go if you're on the same team and you're criticizing the manager and the pitcher, and there is no other pitcher, and that's it. All your criticism is not going to do anything to help the pitcher, and suggestions maybe, but all this, he's gotten taken up by Netanyahu. Bibi really runs America. Bibi really runs the world. The Illuminati wins. The bankers win. That's a very myopic approach to all this. The bankers, first of all, as usual, are broke. So, what are they supposed to do? Any kind of war or destabilization helps them by taking the people's mind off, storming the bank and doing a run on the bank, right? Bringing down the pitchforks. So, where we're headed into a nonviolent world. Nonviolent. We're headed into a period. I don't know how long it's going to go, but I mean, once a lot of this extraneous stuff's going to fall away. The idea of a war consciousness. That's a big curse on humanity, that we have war consciousness. We have war between everybody with the lawyers. It only exacerbates it. But all this is going to be diminished in the next world comes in. And, it's a big transition. Like I said, there'll be a lot of people who can't adapt and are going to die of natural causes and things like that. But, it's okay. They weren't meant to adapt. Listen, they weren't meant to be there. It's okay. They weren't meant to be there. I was watching this series on Netflix, and I finished it. It was called The Waterfront. And it was by a guy that's been a great writer and creator for a long time, and Kevin Williamson. And so I was very curious, and I was really surprised. It was pretty darn good, and probably needs another season to work some kinks out, but pretty darn good. And so here's the thing about it. But I'm watching this world of crime, and I'm watching as this family resorts to crime to avoid being foreclosed on, as if that's, an acceptable thing. I'm seeing the sheriff cross over, actually get his initiation at the end of a gun, and decide to go the way, cross the line, and take the money and give consent, sell his soul in order to keep his job. And that's a good thing. Folks, there's nothing new about making an arrangement with organized crime. The whole world is organized crime. The entire initiation process of all people into the secret, the big secret, here's the secret, okay? The secret is it's all organized crime. That's the secret. And that's what your parents don't want to tell you. And they're not allowed to tell you that. You're not allowed to know that. And if you do know, you have to keep your mouth shut. But you can't know unless you participate. You can't participate unless they blackmail you. They can't blackmail you unless they have you long enough to train you to be serving them. And that's why, and then, now it's like a big fat tick, filled with blood. Everybody in the world is taking that deal. And there's no room for anybody else. And there's no money left. And people are wondering, well, what about rock stars? That's all said and done. I also watched the Led Zeppelin, Becoming Led Zeppelin, and I realized out of all these millions and millions of people that want to be rock stars, these four guys out of the whole world, I mean, the odds are just insane, and now, the rock bands don't make that kind of money. They play on TikTok, and it's even Ozzy Osbourne plays on TikTok, and it's a sham. It's a joke. It's not helping the musician and giving the musician the proper venue and setting to be able to present music, and it's not doing the viewer any good either, because the viewer's just watching like, well, here's the neighbor swallowing a giant Tootsie Roll. And then next frame, here's Ozzy Osbourne singing War Pigs. I guess it's all the same. I guess it's all one thing. I guess everything is nothing and nothing is everything and everything is everything and nothing is nothing. So that's unacceptable. And I don't believe there's really a political solution to the problems we have on Earth. I believe it's a spiritual problem. I disagree with put America first. So you people are put America first people. If before you hang up on me now, wait till I tell you why. The only thing that's going to get me through is God first. I need the Lord like right now, really bad. Having revealed this Trump curse to you, I feel very vulnerable, and I need the shelter. What shelter? Psalm 91 shelter is what shelter. Psalm 91, right? Safe under the wing of the Lord. My strength and my buckler. And though the arrow may fly by night, I'm protected. The plague may come to 10,000 here and 10,000 there, but I'll be safe in my tent because the Lord is my God. And that's a very complex. I said, well, what do you mean? What do I mean? It means I mean the same thing as everyone else. I may not be able to put it into words exactly, but it's multidimensional, multi-layered. And guess what? It's not just a good feeling, because plenty of times I feel bad and I feel like cursing the Lord. Why couldn't you make it nicer for me? And of course, that's a childish, ridiculous, wah, 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 complaining kind of point of view. The only thing that makes sense to me is gratitude. Grateful that I made it this far. Grateful I'm talking to you, that I'm able to disseminate this information to you. Now, do with it what you will. I'm not a pundit like an Alex Jones or a gateway pundit, or what are some of the other punditries like on the left, like a Bill Maher or somebody like that, or a Joe Rogan. That's not my job, really. It's just, you're getting something else from me. And I hope it's helpful. I have no idea, but I know that I've gone an hour now, and I feel like I've just gone 15 minutes. So it must have been okay. So I'm going to put this one up. You think so?
Yep.
Even though I call people idiots? I apologize for that. That's my human frailty. I get frustrated with people and call them idiots because I just don't see why they don't see it my way. And I'm sorry. Okay. For all that over the years, I've done that a lot. So I'm sorry for that. People are not, okay, they're not stupid, but they're preoccupied. I'll put it that way. Well, no, I can't say that either. And with that, I bid you shalom.
This is the way to the end of the rhyme. This is the way, the end of your game. Play the same. I want to tell you I have changed. Expect me to perform like you want, like you need, like you seek, like you breathe. Nobody home went out that door. You're not gonna play with me. You're not gonna play with me. What you think I am? Never gonna be your dog, your plaything. And we move. And we move to the tune of our noise and mechanism. To hear something not of your own making. To hear something not of your